On our golden wedding day, I discovered my husband's other mobile phone. It was filled with photos of him and another woman. There was also a middle-aged man whose features resembled his. The four-generation family looked happy and harmonious. I was so angry that I had a heart attack on the spot and was rushed to the hospital for emergency treatment. However, instead of being sad, my husband said by my bedside, "If it weren't for you, I would have been with Vivian and our child long ago. You bitch. Die quickly." He personally pulled out my oxygen tube. After my death, he cremated my body to ashes. Then he inherited all the assets of my company. He happily brought his mistress and child back to my home. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day when I was determined to elope with Damon, even if it meant breaking up with my parents. One Luna, a being fulfilled my obsession. If you insist on being with this man, we'll disown you. My father was so angry that he covered his chest. His tone was filled with disappointment. I stared blankly at what was happening in front of me. Hadn't I died? Could all of this be a dream? I pinched my thigh hard. It hurt. I was alive. I didn't die. And now it was the night when I was planning to secretly elope with the poor boy. Damon. This was also the turning point of my life. Thinking about all that had happened in the past, I immediately shook off Damon's hand and slapped him hard. My eyes were filled with uncontrollable disgust. Damon didn't understand why my attitude had suddenly changed. He covered his face and looked at me in surprise. Then his knees went weak, and he knelt down in front of my parents. "Uncle and aunt. Don't blame Luna. It's me. I bewitched her. I'll leave her. Luna. Please don't fall out with your parents because of me. They're your parents. I don't deserve you to do this for me at all." Damon's eyes were full of tears. In my past life, it was these words of his that made me even more determined. I not only eloped with him resolutely but also had a big fight with my parents. I called them money-loving misers and said I would never come back. My father had a heart attack in a fit of anger and died despite rescue efforts. My mother, overwhelmed with grief over my father's death, became seriously ill. I blocked all my parents' contact information. It was not until a year later when I took the initiative to contact them that I learned they had passed away. In my parents' will, they not only forgave me but also left me all their inheritance. I felt extremely guilty, but Damon said it wasn't my fault. He accompanied and comforted me all the time. Soon, let down a low sigh, I married him. However, the happiness I thought I had was just a tender trap he wove for me. I pulled Damon up from the ground. I looked at him coldly and said, "Damon, I've thought it through. You really don't deserve me. And you can't be compared with my parents. Since my parents don't agree with us being together, let's break up." My attitude changed so drastically that not only did Damon not believe it, but even my parents were stunned and looked at each other in bewilderment. "Luna, you." Disgust and impatience flashed through Damon's eyes, but were quickly replaced by a look of grievance. "Luna, don't be like this. Let's separate for a while. When your parents can accept me, we can decide then. Okay?" I was too lazy to entangle with him and directly issued an order to make him leave. After watching Damon walk out of the house, I knelt down right in front of my parents. My mother, who was still angry with me just now, rushed over to help me up, full of concern when she saw me like this. But I pushed her away. "Mom and Dad, I was being naive and misjudged people. I always thought Damon pursued me because he liked me. In fact, all he loves is my identity as a rich girl. I'm sorry. I've always misunderstood you and said a lot of hurtful things. Can you forgive me?" Tears welled up in my mother's eyes. Her tone was both self-reproachful and filled with love. "Luna, what parents would blame their children? Your father and I were just afraid that you would suffer in the future. After all, we can't protect you for a lifetime." Thinking that in my past life, I didn't even get to see my parents for the last time, I cried and threw myself into their arms. Thank goodness. In this life, they're still here. And I can get rid of Damon. This demon. In my past life, after I was rescued, I was in a coma but could hear the outside sounds. I even hoped that Damon would tell me he regretted it. That he shouldn't have cheated on me and kept it from me. If so, I could forgive him. After all, over the years, I not only loved him but also relied on him. But unexpectedly, not only did he feel no guilt towards me, but he also told me many things I didn't know. For example, he was also involved in the death of my parents. After taking me away, he secretly used my phone to block my parents. Moreover, after my father had a heart attack and was hospitalized, he took many nude photos of me and threatened my father, which made him have a heart attack and die in anger. My mother was not only suffering from the grief of my father's death but also worried about me. She was also hospitalized, and Damon bribed a nurse taking care of my mother and kept adding medicine to my mother's diet to aggravate her condition. After my mother died, he had no more scruples. I married him as he wished. Not long after marriage, I got pregnant. I was very happy. However, on the way to the 3-month pregnancy checkup, I had a car accident. After the miscarriage, I could no longer have children. At that time, Damon cried and said he would be child-free for a lifetime and only stay with me. I was deeply touched. But it was not until I died that I realized that Damon had arranged the car accident. He hoped that I would die with the child so that he could inherit my inheritance. Unexpectedly, I didn't die. Later, he tried to kill me countless times. Perhaps it was the protection of my parents' souls that he never succeeded. But over the years, he had been managing the company, and the company's assets had long been secretly transferred away by him. As for the discovery of the mobile phone on the golden wedding day, it was also his doing on purpose. The purpose was to stimulate me and make me have a heart attack. He had long replaced the health-preserving medicine I took daily with medicine and increased the burden on my heart. The dosage was well controlled. Every time I had a physical examination, nothing was found wrong. Even if there was something, it was just regarded as a decline in physical function and due to old age. Day after day, I would have been poisoned to death sooner or later. If he hadn't told me all this, I would have died an unjustly killed ghost. Since God has given me a chance to be reborn, I have every reason to take revenge. Damon, in this life, I will not only make you destitute but also make your family fall apart. 3 Damon's parents died early, and he had a grandfather who was sickened in the hospital. For his sake, Damon had been working part-time while studying. We first met at the restaurant where he worked part-time. That time, a drunken male guest was being hands-on with me. Damon came to my rescue. To help me, he was beaten black and blue and even got fired from his job. Out of guilt and curiosity, I started to get to know him. Gradually, having fulfilled my obsession, I was attracted by his persistent, unyielding, kind, and filial character and fell in love with him. However, all of this was just a persona he fabricated to get close to me on purpose. But his affection for his grandfather was real. In my past life, after I fell in love with him, I took the initiative to cover the medical expenses for his grandfather. I arranged for him to have the surgery and stay in a high-end VIP ward until he recovered. Calculating the time, it was almost time to pay the fees again. I pulled my thoughts back as my phone rang. It was Damon calling me. Without thinking, I hung up and blocked his number. Unable to reach me, Damon could only lurk around my house. One day, I made an appointment with my girlfriends to go shopping. As soon as I drove my BMW out of the garage, I saw Damon standing in the middle of the road, spreading his arms to block my way. The hatred in my heart made me instinctively step on the gas pedal. I didn't come to my senses and step on the brakes until I was almost hitting Damon. He rushed over excitedly and slapped on my car window. "Luna, why did you block me? Why didn't you answer my calls? Don't tell me you really don't want me anymore?" His servile attitude made me want to laugh. Seeing that I didn't say anything, he thought I was softening. So he continued, "My grandfather's surgery fee is 500,000. You said you'd help me. If you don't pay for my grandfather now, I won't be with you anymore." I interrupted him. "Sorry. We've already broken up, and my money doesn't come easily. I have no reason to save your grandfather." My words made his face turn dark. At this moment, he finally realized that the breakup I mentioned that day wasn't just a temporary measure. "Luna, what do you mean?" Are you going to ignore my grandfather's life and just let him die? I never thought you could be such a person. I didn't react to his accusations at all. I sneered and said, "Really? Did I cause your grandfather's illness? Stop morally blackmailing me. The fact that you can't afford to treat your grandfather's illness shows you're incompetent. But if you want to make money, I can show you a way." "What way?" His expression softened a bit. I smiled and spoke in a gentle tone. "My father's friend runs a nightclub. There are always some rich women there for consumption. It's not impossible that one of those sisters takes a fancy to you and spends a fortune on you. Or, kneel down in front of me, kowtow and apologize. Admit that you, Damon, are a heartless, despicable, and shameless person. Slap yourself 50 times. And I might help you." Damon's face turned gloomy. And he could no longer keep up the act. "Luna, you can choose not to help me. But you can't insult my dignity." I shrugged. "Well, I was just joking. After all, no rich woman would be blind enough to fall for you just because of your face." I looked him up and down. My tone was sarcastic. "Do you think your face is made of gold? Worth 10,000 yuan for just one slap?" Then I rolled up the car window and drove away. He was left alone, fuming with impotent rage. After meeting up with my girlfriends at the mall, I was in a great mood and bought a lot of things. Unexpectedly, I ran into an old acquaintance at the mall. Vivian, Damon's white moonlight and childhood sweetheart. At this moment, she was snuggling up to a pot-bellied old man, smiling sweetly, as docile as a cat. I knew that man. He was a man from a humble background who married a wealthy daughter but had always been unfaithful and had affairs outside. However, his wife was known for her hot temper. If she found out that her husband had a mistress, Vivian's life would surely be miserable. Just thinking that the woman Damon regarded as his white moonlight was a woman who had been slept with countless times made me find it amusing. After taking a few photos, I was satisfied. For the next day at school, Damon appeared in front of me again. But this time his attitude was arrogant. Even if you don't help me, I have my ways. Don't think you can humiliate others just because you have some money," I retorted. "Don't tell me the money came from Vivian." Surprise flashed in his eyes. So it was indeed Vivian. He seemingly didn't know that the money was earned by his white moonlight through prostitution. So what if it is? Vivian is kinder than you and understands me better. I rolled my eyes. Although I didn't pay the 500 cows and yuan surgery fee. Before that, I had already settled the hospitalization fees for his grandfather. And bought him the best medicine. That alone cost no less than several 100,000 yuan. Which allowed him to hold on until the day of the surgery. In Damon's eyes, he couldn't remember any of my kindness. Well, it's not surprising. A person like him, an ungrateful wretch, can never be satisfied. Leo, Damon's best friend and lackey, also rushed over to accuse me. "Back then, you were the one who pursued brother Damon, shamelessly pestering him to be with you. But now, when it comes to the crucial moment of the old man's surgery, you're not even willing to pay this 500,000 yuan. Sister Vivian is so much better. She's 1,000 times, no, 10 million times better than you. This vicious woman." I nodded. "Right. She's so good. Why don't you call her sister-in-law? Maybe she can give you 500,000 yuan too." Leo was so angry that he rushed towards me, wanting to hit me. I turned on my phone's recording function. "Go ahead. If you hit me, I'll call the police." Leo snorted. But the raised fist didn't dare to come down. Vivian walked over from the side. She glanced at me, then smiled and hugged Damon's arm. "Damon, don't fall out with Sister Luna because of me. I know she's just acting like this out of jealousy." I sneered inwardly. But my face remained expressionless. Seeing that I didn't respond, Vivian couldn't keep up the act either and awkwardly let go of Damon's arm. Although I didn't believe that Vivian, who loved money so much, would be willing to pay 500 cows and yuan for Damon's grandfather. Back then, Vivian and Damon were childhood sweethearts. And their parents had arranged a betrothal for them when they were young. But unexpectedly, Damon's parents died in a car accident when he was in primary school. Vivian's family then cancelled the engagement. Damon was raised by his grandfather, who made a living by collecting garbage. And he managed to get into college. It was only when she saw Damon getting close to me that Vivian started to contact him actively. Could such a woman be a kind-hearted person? I didn't believe it. I didn't bother to pay attention to them. Since I got together with Damon, I had been so focused on him that I fell behind a lot in my graduation thesis topic. I carried my laptop to the library to study. These days, I went out early and came back late, not even taking my phone with me. Unexpectedly, a week later, not long after I returned to the dormitory and was about to wash up, I heard my roommate exclaim, "Isn't that your boyfriend? Why is he kneeling downstairs of our dormitory?" Soon, a lot of people gathered downstairs. Damon was holding up flowers, expressing his love to me. "Luna, please get back together with me. I love you. I can't live without you." I guessed that since the surgery fee for his grandfather had fallen through, he wanted to get back together with me to ask for money. I pretended not to hear. After I finished washing up and came out, my roommate advised me to go downstairs and take a look, saying that he was still there and that Damon said he would kneel there all night if he couldn't see me. I shook my head. He's not stupid enough to really kneel all night. And besides, the dormitory supervisor won't allow him to stay there. My roommate didn't understand why my attitude towards Damon had suddenly changed. Before, I was a love-struck person who would do anything for love. But now I was so cold towards Damon. I didn't bother to explain. Who would believe my experiences if I told them? Sure enough, soon the security guards came and took Damon away. And next day, had until I'd stay. To avoid Damon, I went out early. Later, instead of going back to the dormitory, I drove straight home. For several days in a row, I deliberately avoided him, and indeed didn't see Damon again. There were few classes in the senior year of college. During this period, I almost stayed at home and didn't go out. I was busy studying and redid the research topics I had fallen behind on before, and then showed them to my supervisor. He really appreciated me. He said he wanted to discuss my research topic with me in depth, so I drove back to school. As soon as I arrived at school, I saw Damon, unshaven and haggard, blocking my car with several other people. He looked at me resentfully. I had to get out of the car. "It's all your fault. My grandfather suddenly had a relapse and passed away because he didn't have the surgery in time. If it weren't for you, how could he have died?" His face was horribly distorted, and intense hatred burst out in his eyes. His lackeys also started scolding me all at once. "You heartless bitch. You killed brother Damon's grandfather. We'll make you pay with your life." My driver looked at me and asked, "Miss, should I call the bodyguards?" I nodded. Soon, let out a low sigh. A group of burly men about 2 meters tall appeared behind me. "Miss, who said they wanted your life?" I pointed to the other side. Those weaklings who had been shouting for my death just now immediately stopped. I just found it ridiculous. I said to Damon, "If it weren't for me, your grandfather wouldn't have lasted until today. Moreover, didn't your childhood sweetheart Vivian promise to give you 500,000 yuan? Why did the old man still die?" He was at a loss for words for a moment and then snorted. "It's not Vivian's fault. The creditor who lent her the money suddenly refused to give it. So, probably Vivian thought I was really going to abandon Damon. And continuing to invest in Damon would surely result in losses. So she made up such a lie. Although it was full of loopholes. As long as Damon believed it. Then why don't you blame Vivian? But blame me? Just because I'm rich? There are so many rich people in the world. Why don't you blame others? Just because I was nice to you before, you think I deserve to owe you?" Damon couldn't say anything. But the resentment in his eyes didn't decrease. I didn't want to waste any more words with him. So I walked around him. Those people glared at me. But when they saw the bodyguards behind me, they didn't even dare to make a sound. After I arrived at the supervisor's office, we discussed the research topic for the whole afternoon until it got dark. The supervisor thought my research topic was of great research value and planned to provide me with the most cutting-edge technical research documents and give me the exchange student quota of the department. I was overjoyed. To thank the supervisor for his help, I prepared to invite him to dinner. The supervisor didn't refuse. Unexpectedly, not long after, photos of me and the supervisor entering a high-end restaurant together were leaked. The photos were taken from a good angle. In the photos, with the dim light, romantic atmosphere, and our faces close to each other, it looked like we were kissing. Soon, went on a low sigh. This incident became a hot topic on the coast and the headlines of major news. The title was that a student from a top 985 university cheated on her supervisor for the exchange student quota. Even though the supervisor and I both showed our travel records of that day and repeatedly denied it. But under the influence of the marketing accounts, the rumors became more and more outrageous. Some people said that I abandoned my poor boyfriend and even refused to help his grandfather. They also said that I seduced the supervisor and knowingly became the other woman. The rumors spread more and more absurdly. Some even exposed the supervisor's home address and identity, causing great trouble to his life. Even though the supervisor and I knew this was slander. But my supervisor was implicated and was investigated by the school. Even his promotion to professor was put on hold. Naturally, the exchange student quota for me was invalidated. I suspected Damon immediately. I hired a private detective to investigate this matter. Finally, having fulfilled my adsertion, he found that the original sender of this matter was a virtual IP address, and the background information was blank. It was clearly a newly registered account. The clues were temporarily cut off. I then asked him to investigate Damon and Vivian. During the investigation, the school checked the whereabouts of the supervisor and me on that day. Facts proved that we were innocent. After dinner, the supervisor and I separated. There was no such thing as entering and leaving a high-end hotel at the same time. Although the school clarified the relationship between the supervisor and me. But the public opinion on the internet was still fermenting. It's obvious that this is fake news to protect the teacher. Who would believe it? Just looking at that woman's appearance. She looks scheming. She's born to be the other woman. I don't believe they have nothing going on. These words made me laugh out of anger. I registered a private account and immediately showed several private villas and sports cars in my name. Even a large part of the school's teaching buildings were funded and built by my family. Do you think I would care about an exchange student quota? Sister doesn't lack money. If I want to go abroad, I can pay for it myself. Then, whatever Lil Sai. I posted pictures of the male models I had hired at high-end clubs. Sister also doesn't lack men. Especially handsome and young ones. And my supervisor is a family man with a strong sense of male virtue. I respect him very much. Please, some of you, be kind with your words. Don't harass him and his family. If you have the guts, come at me. My tough reply attracted quite a few fans. Wow. These villas are worth at least several 100 million yuan. Right? They're all within the 4th ring road in the capital city where every inch of land is precious. Sister, look at me. I believe sister is innocent. Next time sister comes to play, can you choose me? I promise I'll serve sister well. Wow. Sister is so tough. I love it. I said sister is so beautiful. How could she be so stupid? I didn't expect she's also so rich. I like her even more. Quite a few people even called me wife, and said they were willing to be my mistress. Or even be my dog. Overnight, I actually gained hundreds of thousands of fans. The situation gradually reversed. There were 1 or 2 comments in the comment section accusing me of showing off my wealth, but they were scolded by a group of fans. You're just jealous. If you were rich, I don't believe you wouldn't show it off. It's really funny. You're only allowed to scold sister, but not allowed sister to prove herself? If sister doesn't post, you say she's guilty. If she posts, you say she's showing off her wealth. Don't be so double-standard. They were directly scolded until they quit the internet. I didn't expect that I became an internet celebrity overnight. There were also many business offers asking me to do advertisements. I refused them all. Soon, the private detective came to me. He provided me with the recent whereabouts of Damon and Vivian. Sure enough, some things were found out. Vivian has a distant cousin who works as an operator in an entertainment company. In recent days, They have been constantly communicating and meeting with each other. And among those small accounts that slandered me, quite a few IP addresses were near Damon's home. It could be roughly judged that Damon and Vivian were behind this. I sneered. I hadn't even had the time to deal with them. Yet they came to me on their own. Originally, having parceled my sushar, I wanted to let them live in peace for a few more days. 7 that night. I invited Damon out. Although he wasn't too willing, he still came. As soon as he saw me, Damon seemed a bit guilty. I pretended to be regretful and spoke in a self-reproachful tone. Damon, I'm sorry. You can't blame me for what happened to your grandfather before. Actually, Vivian told me to leave you, saying that you didn't love me at all. I was so sad at that time and got angry with you. I never thought. Damon was skeptical. How could that be? Vivian isn't that kind of person. I sighed. I knew you wouldn't believe me. But not long ago, when I was shopping, I saw Vivian with a man. Sigh. I originally wanted to tell you, but I was afraid you'd be sad. After thinking it over, I just couldn't hold it in. Anyway, I don't want you to be deceived by her. I took out those photos and placed them in front of him. After seeing the photos, Damon was stunned for a moment. And then he burst into anger and cursed. This bitch. How dare she lie to me? Seeing that the effect was achieved, I was about to leave. But Damon held me tightly. I'm sorry, Luna. I didn't expect you left me because of this bitch. I won't have any more contact with her. Can we get back together? I sneered in my heart but pretended to be sad on the surface. I'll think about it. After separating from Damon, I started to keep in touch with him again, stringing him along. Like flying a kite, pulling it back when it flew too far and letting out the string when it got too close. For a while, Damon was completely captivated. These days, I asked the private detective to continue following the whereabouts of the two of them. Unexpectedly, Damon and Vivian were still living together. I was a bit puzzled. Could it be that Damon was willing to endure Vivian cheating on him just to be with her? Did he love Vivian that much? Impossible. Although Damon was with Vivian in the past life and had children with her, he never gave them a proper status because of my money, which showed that he didn't love her that much. After all, he only loved himself. The only possibility was that Vivian had lied to deceive Damon. She made him put down his suspicions. Although Damon and Vivian were living together, he started bombarding me with messages. He seemed to have forgotten the hatred he had towards me when his grandfather just passed away, and became sweet-talking instead. The private detective continued the investigation and found out that Vivian always used the excuse of going out for a part-time job during the day, but actually went to have affairs. And she had affairs with more than one person. One of them was a teacher in our department. So it was her who wanted to get the exchange student quota. No wonder in the past life. Although I could clearly get the exchange student quota, Damon persuaded me to give it up, saying that if I went abroad, he would break up with me because he couldn't bear to be apart from me for even a second. It turned out that he wanted me to give the exchange student quota to his white moonlight. But I wonder if he could still forgive her with a smile if he knew that Vivian not only cheated on him, but with multiple men. The private detective also told me that Vivian had been frequently visiting the gynecology department of the hospital recently. Could she be pregnant? I'm afraid she doesn't even know whose child it is. This Vivian is really something. To get ahead and achieve her goals, she treats her body like a commodity and sells it again and again. I even started to admire her in a way. I secretly contacted Vivian, telling her to leave Damon quickly and stop pestering him. Sure enough, Vivian humiliated me severely. You were the one who showed Damon the photos of me the other day, weren't you? You bitch? You just can't stand to see me happy. Even if you Photoshop those pictures to slander me. So what? Anyway, Kahing fulfilled my obsession. Damon loves me. He'll believe whatever I say. Who do you think you are? Damon doesn't have you in his heart at all. She seemed to be certain that I would endure everything because I loved Damon. I smiled but didn't reply. That night, Damon invited me out, saying he had a surprise for me. Under the sky-filling fireworks, he knelt down on one knee and asked me to be his girlfriend. He swore an oath to love me for a lifetime. In the past life, I was deeply moved by his oath and agreed to marry him. I never thought that the oath was just empty words. Whether it can be kept depends entirely on the conscience of the person who made it. I cried. I rejected him at the moment when he was full of joy. Damon. I thought you loved me. But to you, I'm nothing. Right? I showed him the chat records between Vivian and me on my phone. I hid the part where I asked her to leave. However, this was enough. I left crying. Damon shouted and chased after me. After I got in the car, I wiped away my tears, sneered, and sent Damon all the photos of Vivian's infidelity, as well as the videos of her frequently visiting the gynecology department, using a new account. I also sent the photos of Vivian having affairs with those bosses to their wives. Among them, there were some hot-tempered women. There was no need for me to confront Vivian myself. There would surely be someone to teach her a lesson. Vivian, you're not qualified to play with me. It's just a pity that I couldn't witness the fight between them with my own eyes. Not long after, the private detective in charge of the investigation told me that intense arguing came from Damon and Vivian's room that night until midnight. The neighbors even reported them to disturbing the peace and called the police. What's more exciting is that early the next morning, a group of thugs came to Damon's house, asking specifically for Vivian. Are you Vivian? Who told you to seduce other people's husbands? You'll get beaten for being a mistress. Understand? Vivian screamed and hid behind Damon. Unfortunately, Damon wasn't stupid when he saw those big and burly thugs and the iron bars in their hands. He immediately slapped Vivian. Bitch. How many men have you slept with? You're even pregnant. Whose child is it? I don't believe you when you say it's mine. At this point, Vivian knelt on the ground and cried. Damon. It's your child. You can't let them abort our child. Damon pushed her away. He said to the others with a cold face. Beat her. Don't bother me. I was just deceived by this woman. He watched as Vivian was beaten until she had a miscarriage and was covered in blood. In the end, the thugs were afraid of causing a death, so they called 120 and left. It was said that after Vivian had a miscarriage due to the beating, her uterus was severely damaged and she could no longer have children. And this wasn't the end of it. Not long after she was hospitalized, another group of people came, took her out of the ward, put her in a black car. After torturing her for a while, they threw her out of the car. Her face was scratched and completely disfigured. Vivian, whose spirit was severely stimulated, went completely crazy. When I learned about this, I remained calm. She brought all this upon herself. If she hadn't sold her body again and again for money and offended those rich wives, she wouldn't have ended up like this. After that, Damon started sticking to me like a piece of dog skin plaster. I kept avoiding him. It wasn't until the day of my graduation thesis defense and the graduation ceremony that Damon finally caught me. Looking at Damon with a flattering face, I just felt disgusted. Actually, Vivian and I didn't have a deep-seated hatred. Her end was entirely her own fault. But Damon and I had a blood feud. Of course, I wouldn't let him off easily. You still have the nerve to come to me? I gave a cold snort. Damon looked a bit confused. Luna. What did I do? I've been looking for you these days. But you've been so busy that you didn't have time to see me. I was wrong. It was always that bitch Vivian who was pestering me. You're the only one I love. Please forgive me. Give me another chance. I promise I'll love you even more and be good to you for a lifetime. I looked at his hypocritical face, feeling a bit nauseous. Damon. I found out. You were the one who leaked the thing about me and my supervisor. Right? And during the time you were pursuing me, you were living with Vivian all along. I didn't expect that as soon as something happened to Vivian, you came to me right away. You're so cruel to her. I'm afraid you'll be even more ruthless to me. A flash of viciousness in Damon's eyes was caught by me. A person like him will stop at nothing to achieve his goals. Now, in front of all the teachers and students of the school, he actually knelt down, hugged me, and started wailing. I didn't do that. It was Vivian. I didn't do anything. Luna. You can't wrong me. Also, you're the only one I've ever loved. You can't abandon me. For a moment, he and I became the center of everyone's attention. I waved my hand. And the bodyguards not far away immediately rushed over and pulled Damon away. I took him to the car and drove to a secluded corner. I reached out and patted his face. My face was gloomy, but the corners of my mouth were curved. Stop pretending. Damon. I've known exactly what kind of person you are for a long time. Are you still acting in front of me? To tell you the truth, I never intended to get back together with you. The reason I broke up with you wasn't because Vivian came to me. She never did. It was all a show I put on myself. Why? It's because I saw through you. Damon's face twisted. Luna. I've never offended you. Why are you taking revenge on me like this? Really? Do you think I don't know that you paid that customer to harass me so that you could come to my rescue? You knew my family was rich. So you deliberately got close to me. It was all your conspiracy. Damon quickly denied it. No. I didn't. Maybe I had an ulterior motive when I first approached you. But it was because of my grandfather's illness. I really had no other choice. But I really fell in love with you. I sneered and crossed my arms. Damon. I wouldn't believe a single word from a heartless person like you. It's just acting. Don't deceive yourself. As for revenge, I haven't even started yet. Don't be so impatient. Today is just the first day of my revenge on you. Endure it well. Damon rushed over, wanting to say something more. But my bodyguards held him down tightly. I looked down at him. I remembered that before I died, I was lying helplessly on the hospital bed like this. Because the oxygen tube was pulled out, I had difficulty breathing. I opened my eyes wide, looking at the man I had shared a bed with for 50 years. Pleading for help. I hoped to see a trace of compassion or affection in his eyes. Unfortunately, having fulfilled there was nothing. He watched me suffocate to death. 9 Soon. Damon was taken away by the police for investigation because of spreading rumors about me and my supervisor. Because of this, he was also expelled from school. Without the gilded degree from the top 985 university, he couldn't even find a decent job. His family was poor. And to make a living, he had to start delivering food and express parcels. Once, I was having fun with my girlfriends in a private room at the club. I ordered a same-city express delivery. The person who opened the door looked very familiar. When he saw me, Damon froze. Then he immediately ran away. I sent someone to follow him and found out that he had rented a small room of less than 10 square meters. He got up before dawn to deliver food and was still busy until the early hours of the morning. He ate instant noodles when he was extremely hungry. His situation was rather miserable. If it were other friends, I could easily help them get back on their feet. But for him, I just thought he wasn't miserable enough. Damon. I wanted you to experience the bitterness of poverty. And I also wanted you to know the despair of having your hopes shattered. I asked a friend to show him the treatment of male models in the club. They could earn at least tens of thousands of yuan a month. If they met a generous rich woman, they could earn at least 100,000 yuan. Damon refused at first. My friend didn't force him. But a few days later, Damon took the initiative to find my friend. Damon was good-looking and presentable. He soon did well in the male model club. An older woman liked him very much and often gave him tips. Damon's life gradually improved. He rented a 5,000 yuan apartment. But he didn't know that this rich woman had some perverted hobbies. The male models under her would be physically and mentally exhausted within a month. Everyone in the club knew this. But no one dared to tell him. Soon, Lenato all sigh. Damon was kept by the older woman. He made money too quickly. And without my control like in the past life. The upper-class society was too complicated for him to understand. He had no family background to support him. In the end, he was easily blinded by the luxurious and dissipated life in front of him. My friend took him to a casino in Macau. Gradually, Damon became addicted to gambling. The money the rich woman gave him wasn't enough for his extravagance. For gambling, he secretly took orders from other rich women. Once you get involved in gambling, you're not far from drugs. Damon's body was completely worn out by the older woman, coupled with his drug use. In less than half a year, He became much thinner and looked listless. By chance, the older woman found out that he was taking private orders. She not only dumped him but also had someone beat him up. He had several ribs broken. He lay in bed for 3 months. And all his savings were gone. When he got out again, his health was poor. And his appearance was haggard and skinny. Plus, he had broken the industry rules. So he was kicked out of the club. Other clubs also refused to take him in. Damon went to my friend again. My friend suggested that he try going to Thailand. The requirements for men there were lower than in China. But the money earned was less. Damon didn't agree at first. But he couldn't resist his gambling and drug addiction. So he had to get into that business. The day he left, I watched him from afar. My eyes were filled with uncontrollable disgust. Later, I took over my father's company. With so many things to do, I stopped paying attention to him. A year later, my friend called to tell me that Damon was dead. And he died a miserable death. After going to Thailand, he became a ladyboy. Damon would do anything for money. And he did quite well at first. But the money he earned wasn't enough for his drug use. Later, he also got syphilis. He couldn't even receive customers. Without money, he had to steal and rob. He was beaten to death on the streets of Thailand. And there was no one to claim his body. I was stunned for a moment. I just said I knew and then hung up. Since he was into drugs, he was bound to die sooner or later. I just didn't expect it to be so soon. But soon, Madaramel Sai. My secretary told me that there was an international conference I needed to attend. So I put the matter of this person out of my mind. For me, a person like Damon wasn't worth my time or emotions. I still had a wonderful life ahead of me. After the meeting, I left work early. As soon as I left the company, my boyfriend was waiting for me downstairs in his Maybach. My parents introduced him to me. He had just returned from abroad and also planned to inherit the family business. He was very well educated. And his background was well known. My parents liked him. And I had a good impression of him too. After getting in the car, he asked me what I wanted to eat. I said anything would be fine. My eyes were fixed on the gradually setting sun on the horizon. I thought, this kind of life is pretty good.